Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 20th, 2026, because I gotta go hit the gym. Um, so we start this episode with Danny and Andre. And to start with this, I need Andre to get rid of his condo because they're all in on this marriage, and I don't think he needs to have the condo anymore. But anyway, so he didn't come home last night. He was at the condo because he was working on his project. And Danny, he was like, he called her around 2 o'clock, but she didn't answer. So he figured she'd sleep. So he kept working. And he was just now coming in. And so he was like, "What's for lunch?" And she was like, "Whatever you want to make." And he was like, "Well, what do you want to eat?" And then she was like, I want to have a conversation. And so she has a conversation with him, asking him why he, went to Bill. And they said that she like confronted Andre about Bill. But I don't feel like it was a confrontation because the conversation was quick, short, and to the point. Like, she was like, "Why?" And he was like, "He was there, and I just wanted to let it be known, not in a, oh, I'm marking my territory kind of way." And he was like, "And if anybody's insecure, it's Haley." And it is Haley because Haley will try and use Andre every chance she gets to do her bidding to secure her spot in her marriage. But how can you be being slick as Haley and then be in the same time like scared that your spot ain't secure? Like if you was that slick, girl, you should have it signed, sealed, delivered, right? Anyway, then we have Naomi and Chelsea. They're at Uptown and they're talking, and Chelsea is realizing that something is up with her sister. But of course, her sister doesn't want to get into it because she can't really get into it. But she's upset over Jacob getting the brakes beat off of him. And she tries to disguise it as a client. And then, Chelsea gives her little advice, and they go their separate ways because Danny has requested an audience with Chelsea. And Chelsea goes to Danny's house, and Danny is excited. She wants to carry Chelsea Cat in Tatum's fashion show, and excuse me, Chelsea ain't feeling it, and she has to tell her mother no. And Danny was like, "We always work well together." And Chelsea's like, "No, we didn't." Chelsea doesn't really want to go back there. She doesn't want to go back to that space where they were connected professionally because they get along way better. And we see that they get along way better um, being just mother and daughter. That is the lane that they need to stay in. I agree with Chelsea. And, Danny is hurt and sad. And so her husband has to make her feel better because that's what Andre does. Um, then we have Smitty and Jacob. And, yeah, Jacob has him come to the motel. He sees that Jacob had the brakes beat off of him. And, he's trying to tell Smitty that they got to be more careful or whatever because it's literally dangerous. And Smitty's like, "Well, look, I have information." And the information that Smitty has, I just don't feel like it's even helpful because he's not getting to Leah. And Leah knows who the top dog is because I don't think it's Leah. Because of something she said last week. I don't think it's her, but she knows who the top dog is. And they're not on that radar. So I'm gonna need for um Smitty. I'm gonna need for Smitty to just stop. And then we have Ashley and Grayson. And Grayson is telling her that he wants to volunteer at the clinic. And she's like, with all you got going on? And he was like, yeah, I'm trying to get a promotion. And I think it'll look good if I work at the clinic. And Ashley not suspicious enough for me, because him sneaking out of the bed while you're asleep, that would be sending all kinds of red flags and bells and whistles off for me. But not Ashley. She takes whatever he says to her at face value. And since we listen to men and trust what they say, men aren't trustworthy. I mean, I'm not saying all men are bad, but a general rule of thumb is that men are not trustworthy. I'm not saying I'm not, by far. I know that not all men are untrustworthy. I know for a fact. But be it that as it may, as a rule of thumb, don't believe nothing a man is telling you. And then we have Derek and Eva. And this is why I will never like Eva, because Derek mentioned Leslie being a criminal, and she goes, she was never charged with a crime. But she knows for a fact that her mother attempted to murder Laura 2 times. She knows that for a fact. There's no question nor doubt in her mind. Her mother has had that conversation with her many a times. So she knows that her mother tried to murder Laura several times, two to be exact. And yet she's not a criminal. Y'all can miss me with all the Eva is misguided and misunderstood. Y'all can miss me all that. She knows what she knows, and she doesn't care that girl could have lost her life because your mother wanted to stick it to your daddy because she was sleeping with a married man, and then he didn't want to have anything to do with her. Well, she didn't even want to stick it to Ted. She wanted to stick it to Nicole. Miss me with all the Eva is misunderstood. Eva can jump in the lake. Then we have Leslie and Malone. Well, let me go back to Ash. Let me go back to Eva. So they get past their little argument, and then Ashley and Naomi come into Orphe Jean, and Ashley asks Derek why he didn't accept Grayson as a volunteer, and he tells him that it's because he's sketchy. And he's just she's like, give me some examples, and he giving examples, and she got an excuse for every example, and it's just like, girl, you're stupid. And when it comes out that Derek was in fact right, do not go running to Derek. Stay away from him. Then we have Leslie and Malone. They're having a date. He's apparently signed his divorce papers, and now they're going to the casino to celebrate because he did have to come up off a big chunk of money in order to just get the divorce finalized or whatever. And so Joey and Vanessa are talking, and she says, she's pretty much made up with Nicole, but she wants couple friends. However, Joey is not interested in that. So she sends him out to try and like get buddy buddy with Malone, and she tries to get buddy buddy with Leslie. She's a horrible friend. I used to brag and boast, even on here. You can go back about what a good friend she was to Danny and Nicole. All that is out the window because you're not gonna be friends with my op and then think you're gonna call me your best friend. I don't care. If you want to have a couple friends, forget it. But that was Beyond the Gates for today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 21st, 2026. So, we start this episode with Martin and Vernon. They're at the house, and Martin is talking to his granddad about his Senate run. And he makes mention of the conversation that he had with Bill about, the things with the races coming out. And, you know, Vernon makes a good point. If he doesn't pursue the Senate race, people are going to get suspicious of him. Either way, people are going to dig and be suspicious. So you might as well attempt to do the Senate race because either way, it's going to bring scrutiny. So then he starts talking about how he feels bad, for killing a man. And his grandfather was basically like, if you had not have done what you did, I wouldn't be here to help your grandmother go through her cancer battle. Like, yeah, you killed a man, but in the situation that Martin and Vernon found themselves in, it was basically either you kill me or I will kill you. He didn't really have a choice. And I'm not saying that killing is okay. That is not what I'm saying. Please don't say that girl on TikTok, she is a killer. No, killing is not the answer. But sometimes you are in a literal life or death situation, which was what Vernon and Martin found themselves in. He was literally beating Vernon, and he probably was going to kill him, and he probably was going to kill Vernon. And if they hadn't uh reacted, they would be living and their life, and the Duprees would have lost Martin and Vernon. Like, it's not a win-win situation in either way. And it's all because two people wanted to be racist. It wasn't a win-win situation. So Martin did what he had to do to protect himself and his grandfather in that moment, and he shouldn't continue to lose sleep over that. Meanwhile, Bill is talking to Caroline, and she's like, "Oh, Tomas emailed me about, doing a one-on-one lunch." And he was like, "Yeah, he is trying to boost morale. He is taking all like the secretaries and the paralegals out on one-on-one time, trying to boost morale." And so she has her lunch with Tomas today. And when she's about to leave for her lunch, she goes over to get Bill to sign some paperwork, and she overhears a conversation between him and Haley. Put a pin in that. Meanwhile, at the atrium, Haley and Tomas are there. Well, Haley's there. She is spiking Bill's tea as per usual. And Tomas comes up and he's like, "Let me talk to you." And he's like apologizing, for the um miscommunication they had about Lynette. And he's like, "I want us to become friends again." And he's like, "Let me buy, more coffee." And she's like, "No, Bill's coffee order is too complicated." He was like, "No, let me, it's probably cold by now." She don't want to give up that coffee because she already poisoned it. But let me just say, Tomas is not stupid, and he gonna figure out what she got going on. So he calls his, oh no. So then he meets with Caroline for their lunch, and he gives her a gift, and they're talking. And Tomas has this thing where he's good at pumping you for information without you knowing that you're being pumped for information. So he gets the information from Caroline about the conversation she heard between between Bill and Haley. Well, I guess they are Billy. Bill and Haley. But anyway, between them, and he finds out that Lynette is suddenly gone, and that Caroline is like, I'm glad that she's gone because, she didn't do anything but bring chaos to our office. So when Caroline excuses herself to go to the bathroom, Tomas makes a call to the PI to have them look into into Lynette. They don't find anything except her application with Vanessa for the penthouse. And he was like, where's she getting the money from? And he says, leave Vanessa out of it. But if you get any hit on Lynette, let me know. Which makes me think that there might be a hit that comes up about Lynette, and that maybe Randy didn't do the job as thoroughly as he told Haley. Because then she says, oh, I know how to play Bill. And then we see Bill talking to Caroline again, and he wants the accountant to look at his personal, you know, accounts to see if any money moved, because did Lynette get paid off by Haley? He not as He's slow, but he ain't as stupid as you think he is. Um, Haley. Meanwhile, Danny and Vanessa, they meet and they're talking, and she's telling her that she made up with Nicole. She left out the fact that she been being chummy with Leslie though. And so Danny is telling her about how Bill admitted that he regrets divorcing her, and how he slipped up and called her baby. And um um Vanessa is like, don't that make you miss him or whatever? And she said, it makes me feel nothing. Like there would be a part of me before that would have ran straight back to him. But right now, I'm in love with someone who loves me back. And I can, she knows what she is worth, and she feels love and she feels safe and secure with Andre. That what Bill says, it doesn't have the effect on her that it would normally have on her. So I like that, but I don't need a friendship between Bill and Danny, because Bill can't he can't handle the lines. He blurs the lines very easily, and I don't want Andre getting hurt in all of this because he doesn't deserve this at all. But meanwhile, we have Nicole. She goes to see Joey, and she's like telling him like, we need to find some kind of common ground. And they hash it out. They sit down and they hash it out. And then Nicole tells him, look, if you hurt her, you're gonna have to deal with me. And if I'm not scared of you. And so, they reach a mutual understanding. And yeah, so then she goes home and she sends a text to her sister, and and her sister comes over, and they're talking about her going to see Joey. And then they start talking about Madison and everything, and how Bill and Naomi are working on the case together. And Nicole says something that I'm glad she said, how he is such a present father. He's such a good father. Bill lost his way. Excuse me, Ted lost his way and prioritized um, Eva for a while, but now he's getting it. Yes, because he did lose his way. He did prioritize Eva and forget about his grandkids, his children. It was crazy. But he did finally, well, I still say he ain't doing enough, because now he got his head up Shanice behind. But, you know, Anita kind of talked to him, and hopefully, his relationships with his family get back on track, because he just act like his family from before didn't exist. But that was Beyond the Gates for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 22nd, 2026. So we start this episode with Tomas and Martin. They're at Uptown. Tomas is waiting for Catherine because they're having a date to continue celebrating her birthday. Yes, do the Aries girl right. Celebrate long, preferably the whole month long. Anyway, um he's getting ready for a date with Kat, and Martin is making jokes about, yeah, you doing right by Kat or whatever. And they're talking, and he was like, you do a good party. And he was like, look, I just made reservations. The Duprees, they brought the party. And he's like, um yeah, when my parents showed up, that was the icing on the cake or something like that. And they're like, he's like, did you notice something going on with Nicole and Ted? What I will say is, I won't say anything. But it's funny to me anyway. So, they continue to talk. Meanwhile, Nicole and Kat were out shopping because Kat needed her mom. I don't know why you would call Nicole when your aunt is Danielle Dupree for fashion advice. But okay, girl, go to your mama. I guess she wanted to be up under her mother, I guess. So she had went out with Nicole to look for something to wear on her date with Tomas, but at the atrium they run into Ted, and Ted is like inviting them for coffee and dinner or whatever, and Nicole, no, for coffee, and Nicole has to decline because she's actually meeting Martin for dinner. And she's meeting Martin for dinner, and so she declines, but Kat stays behind, and they're chit chat, and I was like, look at him being a dad, acting like he got more than one child. But anyway, they're talking, and he's asking Kat like when she's going to move out of Vernon and Anita's house now that Anita is in the clear, and she was like, when she's officially in remission, I'll revisit at that point. And he is like, trying to see if she's going to move in with Tomas. And she's like, look, we're not doing that. And then Kat flips the script and it was like, why you still living in the hotel? Why don't you got a place to live? Which is a very good question that I ask often, because why is this grown ass man still living in a hotel? Like, go get you a place to live. Like I'm like, Kat, are you trying to see where things are gonna go with you and Shanice? Or are you waiting for my mama to take you back? But anyway, so um he is dodging the question, and he's saying to Kat that the next time that he gets married or gets serious with a person, it's for life. And so he's taking his time in trying to get there. He's not trying to rush things. So he's trying to take things slow with Shanice. I hate to say this, and I hate to be this person, but I feel as if Shanice is going to end up getting hurt. And I also feel like Ted and Nicole gonna end up back together. Nicole is out there laying it low and spreading it wide for the doctors. But I feel like that's her get back. But when things settle down and she finally deals with the trauma of her marriage ending, I think that her and Ted are gonna end up back together. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, because Ted don't deserve nothing. He actually deserves to be alone. But I just feel like that's what's gonna happen. And TBD. Meanwhile, Grayson and Ashley are at the hospital, and they're talking, and she's inviting him to dinner, and he's like he may have to work, but he'll let her know. So then in comes Shanice, and Shanice is, coming back from being out of town, and she's coming to see Ted, but Ted's not there, and they find out that he went on a coffee break. And so she's, kicking it with Ashley until Ted comes back, and they're talking about how Leah is breathing down Ashley's neck ever since she found out about her and Grayson. And then, she's asking Shanice, like, does she like do this to you and Ted? And she was like, oh, she know better than do that with me. So eventually Ted comes back, and Shanice and Ted retreat to Ted's office, and they're talking, and she was like, things got awkward before I left to go out of town, and this is where I would usually call it, but I'm not going to do that this time because I think we are building something real. We don't have to label it, but I just need to know you're right here with me. And he was like, yeah, I'm here with you. Mm. Then, they're kissing, and it's getting hot and heavy in there. And there's a knock at his door. He goes and opens the door, and it is none other than Nicole Dupree Richardson. And she is saying, we have a Martin problem, and I just need you to tag in. And then she sees that Shanice is in there. She's like, look, it's not an emergency. Martin is fine. I'll call you if something is up. And then Ted and Shanice, they make their exit to go be alone. Meanwhile, Grayson is telling Ashley that he can make it for dinner, and they're all excited. He's in the stairwell, and he calls his mom, and he's saying, how things are going good with him and Ashley, and she's making him dinner tonight. And then I don't know the dude name that beat up Rashad, aka Jacob, but he comes and he stabs Grayson up in the stairwell. And Grayson's phone falls, and he's just left there to bleed out. Meanwhile, we have dumb ass Bill. He comes home. His wife is an idiot. She's on the internet, and she's looking for Maseratis and crap, trying to spend Bill's money before he gone. And he comes in the house, and he has flowers for her, and they pick up their conversation that they were having before she left the office. And then Haley leaves the room, and when she leaves the room, um he gets a call from Natalie, who is the his accountant, and she tells him about that savings account that Haley had for their baby, how it was closed out, and she withdrew the money and asked for a check to be sent. And so he starts to question Haley about that, and then she tells him some fantabulous lie about how she didn't know that she could transfer the money, and so she had them send the check, and she's gonna put the check in the account when it gets here. And Bill fell for it, and he believes it, and all is good. So when Bill dies, because Operation Kill Bill is definitely in full effect, when Bill dies, he will have no one to blame but himself, because he is willfully stupid where Haley is concerned. And I believe that there's no hope for him. I don't, I'm sorry to this man. I don't want Bill to die. I really don't. And I said that the other day. Clearly stated that the other day. But he keep being stupid. And I just can't, I don't know what else to say. Like, he keep being stupid. He might just die. And who gonna have to blame but Bill Hamilton himself? But that was Beyond the Gates for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 23rd, 2026. So we start this episode with the Grands, and we see Verna. He's on the phone with Madison, and she's calling to tell him about his lab work because, as we remember, he previously asked her to do a workup on him because he was being a little bit forgetful and he just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So he finally heard back from Madison, and it turns out that he is okay. He's a bit vitamin D deficient, and she wants to, try and get his vitamin D up um, by some other means before prescribing something. But he is okay. But Anita overhears the conversation and she asks him about it. And he is forthcoming and he tells her that he's been forgetful and that he was a little bit concerned. And so he asked Madison for help. And Anita was a bit upset, and he's saying, I didn't want to worry you because you needed your strength to be able to fight, you know, cancer and the effects of the red devil. And she's like, okay, I understand that, but part of me being able to fight, if I would have known something was going on with you, that would have given me reason to fight. And he said, well, I was just trying to protect your peace. And she said, Vernon, you are my peace. And I just, I love my grandparents, y'all. Y'all better leave Vernon and Anita alone. We don't need no more health problems, no more health scares. Like, let this be it, because this is too much. Because y'all can't take my grandparents away from me because they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful in black. But then we have Smitty and Martin, and Smitty gets on my last nerve. Smitty, Martin tells him about running for Senate, and Smitty is like, you're absolutely insane. Why would you tell your mom before you told me? Oh, you told Vernon and you told Bill. Yes, he told Vernon, and he excused that because if anybody was going to know, it was going to be Vernon. But why did you tell Nicole before talking with me? I want to be first. Yet you're lying and keeping secrets, doing this story, putting your family at risk because you went into your mother-in-law's office and stole her credentials. And that puts her at risk. All of this is happening at her hospital, and you're helping it to happen more at her hospital because you and Jacob are, but I can even excuse Jacob because it is actually Jacob's job. This story isn't like some story they put you on. This is some story you found out and you want to use to like break out this have this breakout story so that you can make a name for yourself or whatever the case may be. It's not necessarily that this is your job and you're trying to just do your job. And no, you don't have altruistic reasons for why you're doing this. So I'm like, everything he's saying to Martin is going in one ear and out the other for me because you have some nerve. And when Nicole brings it up to you, because Nicole hasn't said anything yet, but Nicole knows what's up. When she does bring it to you, I hope that she tells you how disappointed she is. Because I feel like Nicole is very upset, even though she's not saying anything. I feel like she's very upset by what Smitty has chosen to do in using her credentials to do his story. Like, why would you do that to your mother-in-law? How would you feel if somebody used your mother? But then Martin gonna be wrong if he's mad, right? Oh, okay. Anyway, so then we have um Joey and Vanessa. Vanessa is again asking to be more into Joey's business, and Joey is telling her that his business is dangerous and that he does not want to put her in danger. However, it's not good enough. She says she gets a thrill from danger. And I'm like, grow up, Vanessa, because how old are you? And you still trying to seek thrills by being caught up in what essentially is the mob? Girl, please calm down. But anyway, she's like, I want to be closer in your business. So in order to placate this grown woman, he tells her to make his apartment more of her home, bring some of her things there so she can feel more at home at his apartment. So she goes home to go get some of her things, but she also goes to take Anita a gift because um she knows, everything that Anita's been struggling with, and Nicole is her friend. So she goes to take, allegedly, because she still was kikiing with Leslie earlier this weekend. I ain't forgot about that. But she goes over there to take Anita a gift. She bought her a planner, and she's talking, and somehow the conversation switches to Joey, because she mentioned that she's going to you know go make Joey's house more homey. And Anita warns her, and this is why I will never see why people slander the Duprees so much. They say that the Duprees are elitist and they look down their noses at people, but that's not the case, because they could have taken a hard stance, since she is insisted on being friends with Joe, well, being in a relationship with Joey, but they didn't take that because they don't feel like that's their place. They just warned her and let her know, take care of yourself. The reason they don't like Eva and Leslie isn't because, well, only Kat doesn't like Eva. But the reason they don't like Leslie has nothing to do with Leslie's socioeconomic background or any of that. It has to do with her coming with ill intent to harm someone who did nothing to them, who didn't even know they existed, because Nicole did not know about Leslie. And none of her venom is towards her teddy bear. It's towards Nicole and even Kat, because Kat was born. Then we have Ashley and Jan. She's talking and she's telling her mom about how Grayson is coming over and she's cooking dinner. However, she forgot the focaccia, so her mom said, go ahead and do your laundry and cook the dinner, and I'll, come by with the food, or what, with the bread or whatever. And so, while she is cooking, someone knocks on her door and she thinks it's her mom at first, but then it turns out to be Grayson, because, of course, we saw that Grayson got stabbed yesterday and he was trying to reach Jacob, but Jacob was talking with Ren, and Ren was basically threatening him because he was about to stab Jacob too. He didn't answer the phone, so he made his way to Ashley's house and sorta spilled that he was caught up in something nefarious. Now, my thing with Ashley is, you broke up with Derek because he lied. He lied to you, and he's been doing illegal activities that have brought danger to your front doorstep. Are you going to still keep kicking it with Grayson? Huh. What y'all think? But that was Beyond the Gates for today. And we will be back tomorrow to round off the week. Have a good night. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 24th, 2026. So today we start with Joey and Vanessa, and they are at his house, and she has put things in the house to make herself more a part of it. This is so stupid to me. Waste of screen time. But anyway, and Joey is, like, who are those people in the picture frame? And she's like, oh, those are my friends, the Campbells. They live in Aspen. Anyway, then she was like, well, we don't have any photos of us. Let's take some photos. And he's like, this is going to go viral and all this stuff. She's like, I'm not going to post it. I just want to take some photos with you. So she take the pictures with him, and then she tells him that she had miraculously just loaded his printer with photo paper, so she's gonna print them out to put in the frame or whatever. And then she starts getting melancholy because she says her making, putting the photos and bringing her things to his condo is kind of making things kind of real, like it's making a declaration. And yeah, so Vanessa and Joey are in deep. They are in deep. I don't know what's to come because we did see the preview at the end of the episode, and he is talking to Vernon, and he says that Martin owes him a debt and he means to collect. And how is that going to go over with Vanessa, with Joey? Well, she ain't gonna care. I can tell you that because Joey can do no wrong. She not gonna care about him basically blackmailing her so-called best friend's son. She don't care. She don't care. All she care about is Joey. She don't even care about her own kids. Why would I expect her to care about Nicole's kid? Anyway, then we have Jacob and Smitty. They're trying to figure out where Grayson is. And Jacob was like, I know that he didn't go where I told him not to go. Excuse me. Told him not to go. But that's exactly where he went. He took this directly to Ashley's doorstep, and he has now, in a way, endangered her. Smitty has endangered Nicole by going into her office and using her credentials, and Grayson has done the same by taking his foolishness over to Ashley's house. But I can't say that I feel sorry for Ashley because Ashley don't feel sorry for Ashley. She was warned that she didn't really know this guy, and to be careful by someone that she knows cares about her. She was warned by someone she knows cares about her. But even with knowing that, she just chalked it up to Derek being jealous when she knows, because Derek said that she knows that he's a good judge of character. But all of a sudden, the fact that he's generally a good judge of character is gone out the window because she likes Grayson and she want to do what she want to do. Well, you're doing what you want to do now. Now you caught up in some mess. What more can we say? Um, then we have Nicole and Carlton comes in and he apologizes for their last exchange. And then Nicole, she takes some responsibility as well. And, they kind of make up. So they're becoming friends again. And then in comes Kyle. And, Carlton is like, yeah, I'm going to let y'all have it because I was about to leave. And so he leaves. And, Kyle and Nicole are talking, and Nicole's like, "Oh, if you would have told me you were coming back, I would have been waiting for you at your apartment." And he was like, "Oh, you know, I'm a one man woman. I'm off the market." And she was like, "Well, I ain't requiring that because I'm on the market, girl. I'm outside and I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it with whom I want to do it with. So, like, I hope you're not doing it for my benefit." And he, says that he understands. And then he leaves, and he goes to the nurse's station, and he's talking to um Carlton, and he's apologizing for interrupting. And they laugh and they make, good, they're cool. And so they're making plans to go play basketball again. And Carlton is like, joking around with him. But Nicole walks up and she's eyeing them. What y'all think she thinking? Cause she's thinking something. I don't think she liked something that she saw. Or I don't know. What do y'all think Nicole is thinking? And then we have Naomi and Danny. Naomi goes over because she just wants to spend some time with her mom. Because when you're going through stuff, you just want to spend time with your mom. So she goes over there. She takes some popcorn and some brownie mix. And, they have popcorn and brownies and some lemonade. And they're just chatting. And Danny's trying to figure out, like, what's going on with Naomi. And Naomi's like, "No, I'm good." She's like, "Girl, I birthed you." And I laugh because that is so my mom coded. Because you can't tell her that, oh, nothing's wrong or whatever the case. Because she's like, "Girl, I birthed you. I know what is wrong, that something is wrong with you before you know something's wrong with you." Like, that's how she is. And she, tells her, within reason, about missing Jacob or whatever. And then, she turns the table and she asks Danny, like, "What's wrong with you?" And then Danny tells her, about the situation with her and Chelsea. And Naomi tells her, "Look, Chelsea still needs you as her mom. That's never going to not be the case. But people grow and move on." And Danny was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to learn to accept to accept living in the now and not like dwelling in the past, because things do change and their lives have changed. She's married to a whole new person now. So things have changed and it is an adjustment. Even if things are good, sometimes you have to adjust." As a person who hates change, I was talking to my therapist about this last week. I was like, "I don't like change." But she was like, "Change is not always bad." And she's right. I gotta get a work. The woman earned her money with that one. Change is not always bad, and some good can come out of change. hmm But then we have Haley and Bill there on a date, and they go to Uptown. But Chelsea is there, and so they invite her to eat with them. And they're talking. Chelsea, um, Haley is talking about how she bought a same Chelsea cat bag and she wanted to buy the whole collection. And so she excuses herself, and Bill and Chelsea are left at the table, and they start talking about how um the case is affecting Madison, and he tries to reassure her about that. And then she turns the table to Haley and says that Haley is causing drama because she sees that everyone is becoming good again. He's made up with the Grands, he's good with Danny, and that she's causing trouble. She's not right, she's not off, because that is a thought, and that is something that Haley has said, but that's not the all of it. And then she asked him about why he's getting so close with Danny, because is he just being friendly, or is he, trying to cause problems with her and Andre, basically. I liked it. I like the conversation between Chelsea and her dad and Naomi and her mom. But that was Beyond the Gates for today. I'll see y'all next week.